Okay, hacking though. This is from the book Hacking, the Art of Exploration. It's probably one of the best definitions I've seen. We follow the rules of the system, but we use them in counterintuitive ways, ways that the programmer never thought we would do. This gives us our edge, allowing us to solve problems in ways unimaginable for those confined to conventional thinking and methodologies. That's also why a lot of you'll hear the FBI and others talk about how far behind they are on the curve. A lot of them are trained in traditional thinking. It's very hard to untrain them to get them thinking different ways. But we'll look at some of the stuff. I have to go through this kind of quick because this is a very short time. My presentation is normally 4 hours. And I've got a 2-hour one for hurry up places. We got 45 minutes. You need to start thinking of anything that's convenient is probably a bad idea. People save when you go to a website, you save the password. A lot of people do. It's very common. It's the most common thing. What you don't realize when you save that, it puts it in a table. If I can get into your system, I'm just going to go to that table and grab it, and I got all of yours at once, one hit. So, I hit the button too quick. There's an example of a table off one of mine. I've got it blanked off so you can't see it, but it has username and password there. Every website, your username, your password. If you save them, I just grab the table. I appreciate it. Thank you for making my life easy if I'm trying to break into your system. Exposing a password is very simple. And I'll show you a quick example. I usually go through all the different browsers, but we're a little bit, like I said, short here. That's here's an example. Facebook, where they saved the password. Now, in reality, I'm just going to go to the table and grab all of them. But if you want to see how easy it is to flip a password that looks hidden, we can go to there, right-click, inspect element. Right here, it says it's a password. Okay, I'm going to tell it it's not a password, it's text. There you go. It just flipped it over. Okay, there are ways to do that in all the browsers. None of them are secure. If you're saving them, we can flip them over and see them. Just give you an idea how easy it is. Giving out your login information. There are several programs, including Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Adobe, and others, that when you installed them, if you did not put a username, it grabs one for you. Guess what that username is? It's your login name. Thank you. I won't tell you how many times I get emails from attorneys and stuff, PDF files and stuff, and from condo associations. Here's Excel for audit and stuff like that. And it's got the login name of the user inside the file. Here's an example. Oh, I don't think there's anybody here. I hope not. It's a condo association in Georgia. PDF file up there about their approved exterior colors and all that kind of stuff. Right there where it says author, that's a user login name. Okay, so I've got a login name, and more than likely I see a pattern here. It's first name, period, last name. Well, I'll hit their site and see who their other employees are. Or go to Facebook and see who the other employees are. Or go to LinkedIn and see who the other employees are. And if it follows the same pattern, I've got all kinds of ones to work through to get into their system. So you need to make sure, one thing you need to do when you go back, make sure these things are set up correctly. In the options, file options is in the options area. It'll have a place where you put the username. If you don't want to put your name in, that's fine. Put your company name, anything. Just put something in there, because if it's blank, it's going to throw your username in there. I've got half your login. Other things that are with documents. By the way, you can get software free that'll take all this stuff out of a document before you email it. Because a lot of the stuff you don't have control over, it's going to put it in there. who created it, which we just talked about, who edited it, their email addresses, username, software versions, operating systems. I get lots of great stuff from these. If I can get you to send me any kind of attachment, usually I get enough I can pretty well get into your system. You also need to be careful about hand-me-down computers or serial users. Serial users are different people who use the same computer. Okay, so you have different logins, different information. All I got to do is get into one of them, and I got into everybody's. Hand-me-down computers, when you get new ones, the boss gets it, right? The head, and then you pass it down to somebody else. Well, then they don't know what they're doing, and they hand out information. I get into theirs. Then I've got the boss's information, because it's usually on there still. Their login information and all that in different places, in the registry and stuff. Code injection. Now, we talked about how I get your username, most common way. Code injection techniques are usually how I go around your password. These days, gosh, I don't remember the last time that I broke a password. Haven't had to. We just go around passwords. Not to say you shouldn't have passwords. Make that clear. You should have passwords. It keeps high school and other people out of your system. Here's how code injection works. You go to like a website or your website or whatever. If you've got a username and password, or your bank site or wherever, you put the username in and you type the password in and you hit, log in. This is an example of what happens on the other end. Okay? This is SQL. If you've got an SQL server for security, it says select the name, whatever name you use for your login name, from the user's table where the password equals whatever password you put in. And if it doesn't get a match on both of those, you don't get in. Okay, and it's just that simple. In SQL, a pound sign is used to comment lines of code. Okay, you want to know how geeky I am? I actually know that's not a pound sign. It's called an octothorpe. Probably nobody else in here knows it. Terrible. So, in the login name, here's thinking outside the box that programmers don't think about. For the name only, I'll put name, quotes, from user, pound name, pound sign. Okay? I won't put anything in the password. When I hit log in, what does it do? Instead of select name from users where password equals password, it sends select name from users, pound sign. Pound sign means ignore the rest of this. So what the computer sees is select name from users. If I've got a username, it's going to let me in. I just went around the password requirement entirely. Not going to ask me for a password. Because that pound sign says ignore all the rest of this. Just look in the table for this username. And if it's there, let me in. Okay, completely circumvented it by putting code up in the username. And that's how they get around that sort of stuff. Now, a lot you can do about that. A good web programmer, if you start talking to them about SQL injection, they have some things on their SQL side that they can do to prevent that. But I've used this to break into other systems that don't use SQL, not web-based, your individual systems and stuff. There are various techniques. Basically, you just got to know how to deal with the different ones. But we get around them all the time. I thought I should mention thumb drivers in hotels since we're at a hotel. Everybody pretty well knows that if you stick a thumb drive into a hotel computer, there's a possibility of getting a virus if it's on there. Most hotels, which is good, they've reached a point where every day or twice a day even, they completely re-image their drive. So if there's something on there, it's gone. So what the bad guys have started doing is they put software on there that instead of infecting your thumb drive, it pulls all your documents and stuff off there. Because usually you got lots of stuff besides the one thing you want. So it pulls all the other stuff off there too and keeps it and sends it to the person. By the way, there's a wonderful little thumb drive that I've seen in some hotels where the bad guys, since they re-image it, they just put the thumb drive Well, kind of like this in the back. This is not the same one. This one here, if you put it in, it's got a switch on the side. It records the conversations of everybody in the room. It's actually a recorder. Just stick in the drive. But they'll put one in that has a Wi-Fi built into it now. So when you put yours in, it gathers all the data and sends it to the other person. So always look for drives stuck in the back of a computer at a hotel or any place else, coffee shop that you log into. Example of how bad thumb drive problems. Does everybody have a written policy? Nobody does. There's a major defense contractor situation in Florida where I'm from. But basically, all the guys did is they went out, got about 8 or 10 thumb drives, put their malware on it, and a few other files so it looked like it had good stuff on it. And this was a really secure defense contractor. Fences, guard gates that actually had a guard in it. I know a lot of y'all probably have guard gates that don't. Guard gate that had a guard in it. You had to swipe a card to get into any of the buildings. Really good defense. They found out the people had been in there for 2 days, physically in there, gathering stuff. What they did is they took those thumb drives and they threw them over the fence into the parking lot. So what happens in the parking lot? You find one. Wonder what this is. Okay, a couple of them got smashed by tires, but most of them survived. Somebody took it in, stuck it into a computer. And that's all they needed. Then they were into the system. They got information on IDs, how to make them, all that kind of, how to make the cards. Pulled a couple of employees' information, went in, made cards that they could swipe. Everything went real well for them. And they probably would have went longer, except that the guy swiped in one building and in another building way on the other side within 3 to 4 seconds. And they said, uh-oh, we better look. And that's how they got caught. Well, one of the interesting things about this, just sociology and stuff, is they did a survey afterwards asking the people why they put the thumb drives in, since they have a written policy not to. The women, almost all of them said, well, I thought it was another worker. They might have a family. This can be important. I wanted to see what the problem is, see whose it was, and get it back to them. And everything's all cool. Very nice, very good motives. Almost without exception, the guys said there might be pictures. That's just the way people are. Man in the middle. You got to be careful when people send you emails and ask for financial information, because emails are really easy to spoof. Here's a case. I changed the name. I don't know why. Protect the innocent. Nobody will know about it. They went out to Gmail and made a different one. Those are 2 different Gmail accounts. Okay? Because they looked the same, they sent it in, asked for some financial information. The person hit reply and it went back. Okay? Didn't go who they intended to. Because they hit reply, it went back to the one who sent it, of course. Here's the difference. There's a slight tilt down to that one on the right. That's a 1, GAI 1. It's not Gail. Okay? People go out all the time. If you've got a good, an easy one that they can get an O for an O or 0, I for a 1. You know, there's all sorts of stuff. They'll go out and do that. Source email is the easiest thing to spoof. You got to understand all your email packages in the who it's from part. It'll take anything you want to put in there. It does not check. Does not check anywhere along the way. Does not check at the other end. It's just like snail mail. Just like when I was in college and didn't have any money. Sometimes I'd send a letter home to my mom asking for money. I know at least a few of you know how that goes. And I'd forget to put a stamp on it. So for the return address, I'd put her address. What'd they do? They delivered it back to her, returned it to her for no stamp. Okay. Not a good idea, by the way. That's against the law. That was back when I was silly and in college. Gotta make sure I say those. What about your CPA firm or anybody else that might call you and ask for, email you and ask for information during an audit or anything else? A lot of places post their audits online or post who their auditor is online, that kind of stuff. No problem typically finding who your auditor is. You'll hand out those copies to anybody who asks. So here's an example one. Again, not a real one, although this was a real case. There's a difference here. Okay, it costs $10 to go out and get an online URL name and set up a website in one of the free places or whatever. All they did is J. Barnes and Company CPAs. Instead of Barnes, they did J. Barnes CPAs. Went out, put up a website, just paid another $10 to get an email account, and sent emails to about 40 different places asking for financial information. In one case asking for some tenant information, and got it all. It looked like it came from their CPA. People put it in there, and they hit reply. So it went back to the bad guys. If you're going to put sensitive information, person identifiable information, to somebody, don't hit reply. Okay, type their name out. It's probably in your system. You push the first 3 or 4 letters, and it's going to come up anyway. You should be real careful about hitting reply. Okay, we definitely got to talk about man in the browser. Really common one out there. Really, really common. Here's how this works. First off, it is not detected by your malware. It's not detected by your virus scanner. It's considered a browser helper object, or a BHO. So it's not considered a virus or anything. That's why they don't detect it. What happens is it's actually installed in your browser. You hit some site or whatever, you get infected with it. But it's not an infection because it's not a virus. It gets installed in your system. And you go to your bank, you're going to transfer some money. You're going to say, I want to move from this account, 1234 to 4321. I'm going to move $10,000 from savings into checking, because that's usually the way it goes. It doesn't go the other way very often. Okay, and you hit enter. This software in your browser, it changes that. It looks good on your screen. What the bank receives might be transferred $25,000 to somebody else's account. Okay, but the bank's smart. They're going to say, hey, confirm this. Okay, they'll send you something back. You got to confirm. Man in the browser software switches it back. Bank sends you, do you want to transfer the $25,000 to this account? What you see on your screen is, do you want to transfer that $10,000 from your savings to your checking? So you hit yes. Well, you just hit yes to transferring it to this other person. Okay? Man in the browser software, very common. We got some newer stuff now, but it was one of the biggest things last year, still extremely common. Okay? If you use malware scanner software, some of them will point this out, but they won't tell you that's bad. They call it a PUP, P-U-P, potentially unwanted program. So you got to tell it that, yes, you don't want it. That's a really, really bad one. So the takeaway on that should tell you how to tell it. If you do banking online like that, after a transfer, exit your bank and then re-log in, because then you'll see what really happened. Hopefully it's the right thing. But if they did this, when you re-log in, you get a refresh from them, and it tells you what happened. And by the way, because I get this question all the time, some banks, they'll send the confirmation to your cell phone. There's a Trojan called Zeus that'll get right around that. It's not a problem. They'll reconfirm it to your cell phone. Super cookies. Finally, I saw something on the news about 3 months ago about this. We've been talking about it for, 3, 4 years? I know you were at one a couple years ago. Yeah, we've been talking about this for years. I'm going to tell you, by the time it makes the news, it's usually at least 2, 3, 4 years out, we've known about it and been dealing with it. I don't know why. Also called zombies, because if you delete your cookies for security, I'm going to delete cookies. It can regenerate them all back, so it raises them from the dead. Does your sites visited, page visited, your IP address, sends all this information to the bad guys. What's really cool about it, though, okay, I shouldn't say cool. What's really bad about it is it can look in your history in your browser. So it can say, oh, at this date and time, They went to their bank, and this is their bank's name. So then what do? They send you an email. Hey, your transaction of March 32nd for $10,000, there's been a problem from it. Please log in here and reconfirm it. Well, you're logging into the wrong place, looks just like your bank and all that kind of stuff. So when you get emails, you're wondering, how do they know where I bank and stuff? You probably got a super cookie that needs to be erased. And here's how you erase them in Windows. Because when you do erase cookies, it does not touch these. You do not get touched. And I think this is on the slides. If y'all want to email me afterwards, I'll give you stuff like this and a couple good programs. I don't do them in the conference because I don't want to promote other software, stuff like that. One of the worst things about super cookies, if at the top there you see camera and mic on one of the tabs. Super cookies can turn on your camera and your microphone. So if you've got it on a laptop or something, they can be listening to your conversations. They can turn on your camera, take pictures. Did a case in St. Pete where a young man was taking pictures of young ladies in their bedroom. Why the teenagers in their bedroom? Because that's where teenagers go when they want to be private. They go into their bedroom. And he had a super cookie on there, and he's turning on the camera, taking pictures, and then was using it to extort money out of them. 17 or 18, I'm going to put it up on the internet. All your friends are going to see you. It's a really bad case. But anyway, super cookies, you need to be aware of them. Changing domains, I get people all the time. They've got a domain name that long, they decided they want a shorter one, so let this one lapse. Guess what the bad guys do? There are sites out there where you can see all the domain names that have lapsed or are lapsing in the next few days. You watch them. As soon as they lapse, they go out and snap it up. And then they'll make a copy of your website. There's lots of software to do it. And they'll put it up under this domain. Why? Because every one of your people, every one of your tenants, your owners and stuff, they're going to have it in their browser saved as a bookmark, how to get there. And where are they going to go? They're going to go to the wrong person. And then they're going to say, please confirm that you're the right person. Give me this, or that, or social security number or something. And are they going to do it? Yes, they will. Spend the $10 a year and keep all your old domains. It's just not worth it. You know what it costs you if you get something like this and they get into you? The least case I've had cost them around $200,000. And if they get credit card info or anything like that, you're talking up into the millions. Okay? Your job is gone and you got real problems for your association. Also, pay attention to who fixes your computers when they go down. You should have a written contract with them that says, you got confidential information on here and they will respect that. There's specific legal wording for that. But if they come in and get onto your system, they have access to everything. Or if you take your computer to them and leave it, they've got access to everything. So be careful about that. Happens very often.